Dustin Poirier explains willingness to return for a fourth Conor McGregor fight in a recent appearance on the Weighing In podcast. Dustin Poirier revealed that he's not opposed to returning from retirement for a fourth fight against bitter rival Conor McGregor, at least as long as certain conditions are met. Dustin Poirier made a recent appearance on Josh Thompson's Weighing In podcast, where he discussed his openness to a fourth fight with Conor McGregor. The Diamond retired last year after a rough stretch in his final fights, and has since been enjoying his retirement. However, the competitive fire hasn't yet been fully snuffed out, least of all when his most despised foe is taken into account. About halfway through his interview of Dustin Poirier, Josh Thompson asked the former UFC interim lightweight champion if he would ever consider returning to the octagon against Conor McGregor. The Diamond was quick to assert that he would strongly consider doing so, if the conditions were realistic, though he didn't elaborate on what he meant by realistic. Nevertheless, he seemed more than interested in a fourth fight with the Notorious, as long as the UFC gave him the call. 1716, Poirier and McGregor have a long-standing rivalry dating back to their featherweight days. Years later, at lightweight, Poirier avenged his loss by TKOing the Irishman at UFC 257 in a masterful two-round dismantling. In their first outing, McGregor scored an easy first-round TKO at UFC 178. The pair then had a rubber match at UFC 264, where Poirier seemed to be trending toward a win before McGregor snapped his left tibia toward the end of round 1, leading to a TKO win via doctor stoppage in Poirier's favor. While their beef has cooled over the years, there's still some animosity between the two, especially from Poirier. However, the Diamond is now retired, after a 2-4 run in his last 6 fights that saw him fail to twice capture the UFC lightweight and BMF titles. McGregor, however, remains determined to prove himself in his return after a near 5-year hiatus, and will face the great Max Holloway at welterweight in a rematch 13 years in the making at UFC 329. Ironically, Poirier's last UFC fight, a lopsided unanimous decision loss at UFC 318, was against Holloway himself.